The slave trade stands as one of the most horrifying phenomena in human history. Throughout various epochs and across different regions of the world, the enslavement of individuals was an all too common practice. The suffering endured by those subjected to the slave trade is immeasurable, leaving an indelible mark on the collective memory of humanity. In order to comprehend the depth of this cruelty, we must delve into the dark depths of history and examine the factors that contributed to this abhorrent trade. Let us embark on this journey with an image in mind: a bustling port filled with ships, their holds loaded with human cargo, surrounded by a haze of anguish and despair. The scene is set during the 18th century, characterized by a soft, muted color palette that captures the somber atmosphere. The roots of the transatlantic slave trade can be traced back to the 15th century, when European powers set forth on an era of exploration and expansion. As they sailed across the vast oceans, encountering new lands and peoples, they laid the foundation for one of history's cruelest practices. Africa became the predominant source for slave labor, due in part to an existing tradition of slavery within some African societies. Furthermore, the availability of natural resources and the growing demand for labor in the New World fueled the insatiable appetite for slaves. To visualize this era, imagine an oil painting depicting a bustling African market, with individuals being bartered as commodities. The artist captures the vibrant colors of traditional African garments and the sense of desperation in the eyes of those being traded. With the onset of colonialism and the establishment of European colonies in the Americas, the demand for labor intensified. This led to the development of the infamous triangular trade. Ships departed from European ports, carrying manufactured goods to Africa, where they were exchanged for enslaved individuals. These enslaved Africans were then transported across the Atlantic to the Americas, where they were sold as laborers on plantations, in mines, or as domestic servants. The profits from these sales were used to purchase goods such as sugar, tobacco, and cotton, which were then transported back to Europe. To envision this aspect of the slave trade, imagine a map depicting the triangular routes traversed by ships, colored with shades of gold and crimson to symbolize immense wealth amassed through this merciless business. The conditions experienced by enslaved individuals during the Middle Passage, the journey across the Atlantic, were beyond comprehension. Packed tightly into the holds of ships, they endured cramped quarters, disease, starvation, and brutal treatment at the hands of their captors. The inhumane treatment experienced during this voyage is difficult to capture in words alone. Let us imagine a stark illustration depicting the confinement of individuals within the suffocating space of a ship's hold.
The artist's use of monochromatic shades of gray emphasizes the despair and desolation of this harrowing experience.
Upon arrival in the New World, enslaved individuals were subjected to a life of unfathomable hardship. Working tirelessly under grueling conditions, often subjected to violence and degradation, their spirits were broken, but their resilience remained. To visualize this era, imagine a photograph capturing the weary faces of enslaved individuals toiling in cotton fields, set against a backdrop of a blazing sun. The photograph is in black and white, heightening the sense of oppression and highlighting the strength and endurance symbolized by their exhausted but determined. The abolitionist movement gained momentum in the late 18th and early 19th centuries, spearheaded by influential figures such as William Wilberforce and Frederick Douglass. This period witnessed the rise of anti-slavery sentiments and a growing recognition of the inherent rights and dignity of all individuals. To capture this time of change, imagine a montage of newspaper clippings and political cartoons, illustrating the efforts and achievements of abolitionists. The clippings detail stories of courage and resistance, while the cartoons satirize the defenders of slavery. The colors are bold and vibrant, reflecting the spirit of optimism and progress in the fight for freedom. Finally, in the 19th century, the transatlantic slave trade was officially abolished in many countries. This marked a pivotal moment in history, signaling the beginning of the end for this abhorrent practice. To commemorate this momentous occasion, visualize a painting depicting a group of formerly enslaved individuals, now free and unshackled, standing tall with expressions full of hope and resilience. The artist employs warm, vibrant colors to convey a sense of liberation and empowerment. The slave trade represents a dark chapter in human history, marred by unimaginable suffering and cruelty. It is essential that we confront this painful past, examining its causes, consequences, and the indomitable spirit of those who resisted the chains of oppression. By acknowledging this history, we strive to ensure that such atrocities are never repeated. As we reflect on the legacy of the slave trade, let us envision a world where all individuals are recognized as equals, bound together by compassion and a shared commitment to justice and freedom.